Hello and welcome to the Climbing Daily Wednesday News Show. My name is Hugo Pilcher, and on this week's show we are going to be looking at all the best things to happen in climbing in the last week. In today's show, we get a bit of an insight into the latest round of the IFSC in Seoul, South Korea with Matt Groom. We round up all the best ascents from the last week, and we've got a pretty special deal of the week at the EpicTV shop, so stay tuned. It's been an eventful week in competition climbing with the IFSC bandwagon rolling on to round number 2. Due to adverse weather conditions and a reshuffling of the climbing schedule, the final in Seoul, South Korea was a 20-climber affair, as the semi-final round of the competition took the place of the final due to the qualifications being cancelled the day before, as there was so much rain that the judges were not able to ensure the problems were in equal condition for each climber. In the women's, third place was taken by American climber Brooke Rabatu, who continued her strong start to the season after her win in Hachioji last week in Japan. France's Oriane Berton, who along with Rabatu topped 2 out of the 4 boulders, took the silver, but it was left to Japan's Miho Nanaka to make a long-awaited return to the top of the podium to take gold, as she made 2 tops and 3 zones to take her first place finish in 5 years, her last coming in 2018 in Mergin, Switzerland. In the men's final, the home crowd had real reason for thinking there might be a home gold medal in store, as Jongwon Chon took to the stage. But despite his best efforts at getting himself and the crowd going, he could only make the bronze medal, despite an excellent performance with 2 tops. In second place, after his disappointing first showing in Hachioji with a 10th place, Tomoe Narazaki seemed to be somewhere close to his best with a silver medal finish, with 2 tops and a zone. But it was once again the Meji Shauk show, with the Frenchman turning in another impressive performance to take his second gold medal on the trot, a feat not managed since Adam Ondra in 2021. The French 18-year-old must have been doing something special in his off-season, as he looks like a climber reborn this year. His mental blocks that we saw last year have seemingly been eradicated from his climbing, as he flashed 2 of the 4 boulders, which was enough to take the win. It was, however, in the speed that arguably the most eventful part of the whole round took place, with records dropping left, right and centre. The speed wall has been replaced this year with a different surface, making it seemingly more likely that we get faster times. Vedrik Leonardo of Indonesia broke his own record twice and smashed the 5-second barrier with his fastest time at 4 seconds 90. All this on his way to a gold medal. In the women's, Alexandra Miroslov broke the record 4 times, with a new one being set at 6 seconds 25. She also went on to win the gold. We caught up with Matt Groom to find out a little bit more.
Hello, we've moved on from Korea and now it's time for the Jakarta speed rounds. But before we look at that, I want to chat about a few things from Seoul. So speed first of all, and so many world records went down. Now, the wall has been replaced this year and it's now fully standard world record style. The texture on the wall itself has been improved, and apparently the new hold set are just a little bit deeper. That means that we saw multiple records go down. Vedrik Leonardo breaking his own world record twice on his way to a gold medal and going under that magic 5-second barrier. And then Alexandra Miroslov, well, she hasn't missed a final since 2013. She's so consistent. She broke her own world record 4 times on the way to her gold. Now, I don't think the track is unfair if one's better than the other. It's a bit like in running circles in sport. There's some running tracks are known to be better than others and better for world records. And I think that's a similar case here. Whether we'll see more in Jakarta, where the weather is a bit hotter and more humid, which the speed climbers like, well, you'll have to watch and wait and see. The second thing is the weather. It absolutely poured with rain. I cannot tell you, it was like sideways into the wall. And the problem is the judges have got to ensure that the conditions for the athletes starting at the beginning of the qualification round is the same for the ones at the end. So the decision was made to cancel, and because there isn't any room in the schedule, it's so tight, they had to come up with a solution. They can cancel one of the events, so a finals or a semi-finals, and still carry on with the comp. So the finals was cancelled and it became the semi-finals. Now, there was a lot of complaint about whether that should be done, whether it was the best solution. In the moment, I do think it was the best solution. Perhaps it should have just been called a finals instead of a semi-finals/finals, but that's more just for communication purposes than anything else. It was actually kind of exciting. 5 minutes per boulders, and they were the finals boulders, and no observation time really changed things up. But it was hard to try to catch 8 athletes climbing at the same time. The Obsessed Media guys did a good job, but not an ideal set of circumstances, but an exciting final. Should stadiums be outdoors? That's the bigger question. Look, without them, we lose places like Chamonix and Korea, Briançon. However, if you're outside, you've always got to think of the weather. And that is just a part of any kind of sport, really. If you think of tennis or like extreme snowboarding or stuff like that, you have to have weather delays. I do think that there should be really good, adequate coverage over the walls, especially in Boulder. But in the same as loads of things, it comes down to money. I think people think the IFSC has this massive pot of money that they can just throw at things, but that's not the case. And often it's down to the organisers of the venue itself. Maybe there should be more due diligence checking this before events, but it's hard. You know, if you've got a wall that 99% of the time will be weatherproof, it's difficult to spend thousands and thousands and thousands on properly building a massive roof over the top of that. Look, that's the ideal circumstance. We all have to battle with cash, so hopefully we won't see a scenario like that again. But fair play to everyone for putting it together despite the difficult conditions and having a pretty special comp. I've written this up on UKC so you can read the full article. Thank you so much for watching in Korea if you did, and make sure you catch the Speed dedicated event in Jakarta this weekend.
So another round done, round number 2. Round number 3 in Jakarta, Indonesia is next. We can't wait to see what happens there, if there's any more speed records, and who comes out on top this time. Will Meji Schauk continue his amazing run? Right, next up, we've got all the best sends from the last week. 17-year-old French climber Maho Normand has made an ascent of Sachedandana in Orgon, France. In an interview with Ete.nu, Maho said it took him 15 sessions over a course of 1 year to complete it. Ete.nu reports that 33-year-old French climber Amandine Laurie has made an ascent of Envoi Dieu-Simon, an 8C in Saint-Léger. Scottish climber Will Bosey has made a first ascent of what he called his longest boulder project, adding a sit start to the classic 8B Wild West in Ravens Tour, situated in the Peak District, UK. He has called the route Wild South and preliminarily given it a grade of 8C. Fanatic Climbing reports that 47-year-old climber Delphine Chenevier has clipped the chains on her first 8C. The route Little Kings at Saintonge near Grenoble was her after-work project, and she managed to send it in just a few sessions. And in Alpine news, Planet Mountain reports that American duo Joseph Hobby, 34, and Zach Lovell, 30, have made what is believed to be the first ascent of the stunning northwest face of Citadel via their new route Borealis Face. 2,000 foot, 85 degrees, ice and snow. A day later they established Superfly Couloir, 1,700 foot, AI5 A2 M6 on a previously unnamed peak south of Rhinestein, which they have now called the Rise and Shine. So another eventful week in climbing, most eyes focused on the IFSC, but a handful of interesting ascents going on around the world. Right, next up, the 9B counter. There are no 9Bs in the 9B counter, we can move on. Okay, so that's 9B counter done. Next up, EpicTV shop time. This week, we've got a very good deal, a fantastic deal in fact, 20% off Edorid harnesses at the EpicTV shop. The link is in the description below, or you just go to the EpicTV shop webpage and click on the banner at the top. Very good harnesses, Edorid. Loads of reviews on Climbing Daily for Edorid harnesses. I don't really have any complaints about any of their gear. I think they make innovative, interesting, well-made gear. Go check out the harnesses on the EpicTV shop, see if one fits your needs. Next up, we have got a little clip from a video that was released on EpicTV this week. It is the destination guide from Val di Mello in association with 27 Crags and Black Diamond. Here's a little clip.
It's my first time here in Val di Mello, and it's just beautiful. I'm overwhelmed by the landscape and all the boulders around, so yeah, I love that place. I arrived here in the night and I couldn't see anything, drove up the valley and went to bed. The next morning, waking up in this beautiful valley was really nice, and yeah, discovered all the boulders and rocks here, and it was a great feeling.
So that is basically the place where they hold Mello Blocco every year. At Mello Blocco, in fact, it hasn't been happening for a couple of years, but Mello Blocco is a big bouldering festival that happens in the north of Italy in this incredible location, like beautiful, massive granite walls up on either side, beautiful boulders in the middle, like waterfalls kind of crashing down onto the valley floor. They call it the Little Yosemite. It's a spectacular place. Mello Blocco is happening this weekend. So if you're in northern Italy and you fancy a bit of a climb and a bit of a party, head on down. The link to that video is in the description below. So if you want to watch the full thing, head that way, or just head over to the EpicTV, main EpicTV YouTube channel. We have 2 YouTube channels, the Climbing Daily YouTube channel and the EpicTV one. Just so you know, right now you're on the Climbing Daily YouTube channel. So you have to go over to the EpicTV one to watch that one. Anyway, after that long splurge of explanation, next up is a comment of the week. So my one is from Cams, Draws and Screws. And he says, this is about the route setting. We're deep in IFSC territory here, so I think it's right that we should continue on the conversation of what's happening in the IFSC. Last week there was a bit of a controversy. And it kind of surrounded one of the boulders, which nobody topped, nobody got anywhere near. And Matt actually spoke about it last week. But basically, Cams, Draws and Screws says, happy that the route setters are creating something that pushes the limit, otherwise it will just turn into a speed competition. Got to remember, the climber having the most fun is the best climber. Cams, Draws and Screws, thanks very much for that message. It's very good sentiment. The last sentence is a very good sentiment. But before that, it's an interesting point, because Matt raised it in his point in his little comment section last week, whereby he said that the whole point of the route set is trying to push the limit is so that they can like change the boulders and have kind of variations in the boulders and effectively like re-educate the climbers when it kind of comes to new different types of boulders. The fact is that apparently the Meji Shalk after the competition went back and tried to reclimb it and basically figured out the beta and climbed it in his trainers. So it wasn't like a crazy hard climb, but it was just the fact was that the beta wasn't there. The guys didn't have the beta, therefore they couldn't climb it. But no, it's super interesting. It's super interesting to see boulders like that, and it's super interesting to see the route setters who are continuously pushing things and trying to evolve the sport. Like they're the ones at the forefront, definitely at competition climbing, trying to like show us like where the sport is going and how to kind of evolve it. So fair play to them. That's it. Thanks very much for joining me. Next week, Teresa will be back. Possibly Matt as well, actually, because he's in between IFSC Cup rounds. It's Jakarta coming up. Hope you guys are excited about that. We are as well. Look forward to seeing you next week. All the best.